Right, gentlemen, here we are at the Southampton University.
Solent.
Solent.
It's called Solent now.
Yeah.
They've just
Solent
rebranded.
University.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry,
so
Important
that's it.
distinction.
Here we are at the Solent University in Southampton, and we've just been doing a bit of filming and talking to you at the tank testing centre. Just tell me before that, please introduce yourself and tell us why you're here.
Sure. I'm David Lewis, Managing Director of Laurent Giles, but also today representing Hawk Yachts, who we're doing the tank testing for. We're basically tank testing a 68 metre of theirs that we've designed. And we've been here doing various bits of testing all day, which we'll get into in a minute as we go through.
Yeah, I'm Steve Wallis. I'm the Director of Laurent Giles. Been with the company since about '83. And I also spent about 20 years actually at Solent University as a senior lecturer in structures and aerodynamics. So we've got a very close link to the university here, which is we use the tank a lot, and we work with the university on a lot of the projects that we do. And actually quite a lot of our staff started their careers doing their degrees at the university as well.
Okay, and the 68 metre that we've been witnessing today. How long has that been it's a project?
It's in development, yes.
It's a project in development, okay. And how much more time have you got developing this particular hull?
We're actually pretty much finished. The tank testing is probably the last bit that we do. From the tank, if we've got anything we want to change, anything that's going to improve it, we'll take that back into the office and then we'll modify the design. But pretty much we've been working with Hawk Yachts for probably about 6 months on this one.
I think I was going to start in, yeah.
And we've worked through pretty much what we'd call the preliminary design stage of
And that's
this project.
68 metre that we've been looking at in the tank today.
Yes.
But they also do a 48
metre.
metre.
48 metre.
And we're just starting on an 88.
88 metre as well, and they have 103 metre as well in the range, all of which have a family resemblance, as it were. They're all built on
And the idea behind Hawk Yachts is very much the explorer, rough and tough idea. So plenty of interior accommodation, but also the ability to go.
Absolutely, it's sort of the idea of having the ability to go to these places, it being roughy-tufty, as it were, but also looking like a super yacht.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's the key.
extended endurance, and also carrying some slightly different equipment that you might expect from just a yacht. So,
well, and also we were discussing the icebreaking capability of as an option for these yachts as well. I mean, it's not something that maybe people are going to go immediately grasp, but that is an option that could be considered on there.
Forgive me, that's on the 48 metre as well, isn't it? The icebreaking facility is...
no, I think to say that the smaller boats would be expected to go ice breaking is not correct.
Okay.
The requirements for that are fairly significant.
Not even PC7.
No, the problem is the minute you go to a PC anything, you need lifeboats.
Okay.
So the
So
idea
its physical space is a problem in terms of
physical
actually. So
space.
it's got to be. So minimum
Yeah.
size really is where
88 metres.
Yeah.
So the idea behind the whole range is I guess as you go up the size, you go up in
You
capability.
get more capability.
So on the 48 metre, we have an ice class. So for sure you can go to those places with a bit more confidence than you would do without. You go up to the 68 metre, we're then going up to a D class ice class, and then the 88 metre we see as being the starter of going to this polar code, which is a lot higher in all the regulations, etc. So we see the 88
Well, you were
metre
saying
being-
that the top code is basically a Russian nuclear-powered icebreaker, and so there's not many people that are going to be looking to go to actually the top code.
No.
So something in between is really the realistic.
To meet the top levels is a very extreme vessel, very purposely designed to do that.
Yeah.
Not these are general purpose expedition yachts. They want the capability to do these things if the owner wants, but obviously you need to plan your voyages, you need to pick the time of year and season.
So that you see the appropriate,
Excellent.
get the appropriate weather, see the
Exactly.
appropriate.
So the boat
penguins.
will cope with the extremes of weather that you might encounter going there at that time of the year, but to say that you're going to go start breaking your way through ice is...
It's also, I think it's to get you out of a situation. You can, in these places, get into a situation where you need to get out of, and what we're building into that is the insurance that you can
So
do that.
if you're 2,000 miles away from Tierra del Fuego, for example, you need to be in a position where you can look after yourself.
Yes.
Which is a proper seaman-like position to be in, frankly.
Yeah, and again, it goes down the way that we've looked at this with Hawk Yachts is that we're looking at different aspects. We're not looking at range, for example. We're looking at endurance. We're looking at how long you can stay on board without needing outside help, extending your cruising in these areas. So that's again an important thing that we've been.
Well, again, we were talking about infirmaries and hospital situations, having a doctor on board, because if you are a long way from civilization, which essentially is what you are, particularly if the weather closes in, you've got to have the ability to be able to properly look after yourself. So it's not just food and fuel that you need.
No.
There's a lot of other things you've got to
And
consider.
you need, in certain circumstances, you need ICE qualified crew.
Yeah.
You need another level of qualification for your crew.
So getting back to the 48 metre, that project's quite developed, isn't it?
They're all developed to what we would call a detailed preliminary design.
Okay.
So they've all gone through, or will go through, tank testing. They've all gone through proper weights and power estimates and structural design. Full specification is all written. So they are all fully developed designs in that sense.
So the 48 metre, that's got the gross tonnage on that is quite significant, isn't it?
She's quite a big boat for 46 metres. There's quite a lot of
Okay.
enclosed space because she's got the way the layout works, and enclosed space drives gross tonnage.
Okay.
I mean, apologies if you don't know the numbers, but it's quite useful. We use the GT as, I know it's a sort of a very rough guide to size, but it'd be quite useful to know what the GT sizes are if you have that information on the different...
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that interesting you should talk about gross tonnage because
yes, it's not an exact science, I know.
Well, to us it is actually because we get held to it.
It's a measure of the enclosed volume of the boat.
We get held to it by
Possibly.
we get held to it by classification societies and flag authorities, so we have to get it right.
Yeah.
So
because we use it in terms of it's a great way of describing something in terms of, and it's I say it's a rough guide because clearly, if somebody says well, it's a 50-metre yacht and it's a certain Grote GT, it gives you some kind of idea.
You get the
of
idea that there's not that much accommodation on it.
Yes,
Well,
exactly so.
the 48 is 600 and 650, I think it is.
It isn't directly related to length,
Yeah.
because a different style of design will have more accommodation there for a higher GT. So if you look at boats in, say, 45 metres in length, you can get a significant range of GTs in that size of boat.
One of the things for example, with the 48 that we went to a lot of discussion, especially with Matthias, was do we want to go under 500 gross
The
tons?
original thoughts were that it would be under 500 GT, but when you then got into developing the design and how much they wanted with the accommodation, the space for equipment,
Capability,
and the
just drives it.
capability, you said, well, there's no way it's going to be
There seems
under
to be a
500.
hang-up on this 500 GT area, and it's not that much more complicated to go above that, or does it create more?
No, the 500 break point doesn't have hugely significant implications design-wise.
You pick up things like fire protection, higher levels of firefighting capability. So there are some additional costs in the build.
Safe manning.
Safe manning and crew certification levels
Yeah.
and so on. So you do pick up more cost. But in terms of, as you say, the technical bit for the design doesn't make a lot of difference.
One sort of counter argument against having or for having a boat over 500 tons, I've always thought, is your charterability, the how much you can charge,
Yes.
or how much extra it warrants as a charter yacht. If you're up to 650 tons as opposed to 500 tons on a similar length, that's
Yes, I would agree with that, and also I think we always have this argument that if you're at that cusp of just going over 500, and the extra regulations are mainly safety orientated,
Why wouldn't you
why wouldn't you want those extra safety?
No, I agree.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's not a huge cost.
No.
The next step up is the big one when you go above 3,000.
Yes.
Obviously, because that is you're into commercial crew, etc., or higher trained crew.
That might be a discussion for another day,
Yeah.
because then you've got PYC, which is coming in, which has now changed its name again, I understand, to the Red Ensign.
Yep.
So that, I mean, again, that's an important area, but of course, in terms of numbers of boats, I think sort of 45 to 70 metres is sort of the sort of area that we're looking at.
Yeah.
Or 80 as well, of course.
Yeah. So what's quite interesting as well is at the moment we're doing, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 vessels above 3,000.
There's a lot of
When I say over 3,000, we're up to 6, 7, 8,000.
This is as Laurent. This is Laurent Giles.
yes,
So
yes.
perhaps we ought to talk about, just if you could give us a little bit of background on when did Laurent Giles start? I mean, I'm guessing 1950 something.
No, I'm guessing 1925.
Oh, well, you're nearly right.
Oh, not quite.
1927.
Okay.
He's a chap called Jack Laurent Giles, who was a naval architect trained at Newcastle in those days. Obviously,
And
ship
you
design.
could always tell a Laurent Giles hull, and they were sailing boats, but he did design motorboats as well, didn't he?
Absolutely.
But you could always tell there was a sort of I call it the Cavita line. It was
a very
always
distinctive shear line and a very distinctive sort of tumble home on the transom.
Yes.
Yeah, very much characteristic of Jack Giles's
Yeah.
designs. So he started.
And he
out-
designed a lot of boats.
Yes, don't ask me the exact
No.
numbers, but the catalogue goes on, and a lot of them, of course, were repeats. And, yeah, when he started, you went if you wanted even a 25-foot boat, you commissioned the design.
And were they all
Yeah.
timber, or did he latterly go into GRP?
Originally, they were all timber. Then he was quite an innovative designer. I mean, he was first all aluminium boat. Galvane was a Jack Giles boat
Right.
in the 50s, early 55, something like that. We were one of the first companies getting into GRP production with the very first Westerlies and the Moody's back in the very early 60s, about 61, I think we started with those.
So that's even earlier than Nortor, which was probably
Yeah.
60, late 60s,
Yeah.
66,
So
67.
they-
They were known for GRP early boats.
And boats like Blue Leopard, they were cold moulded construction with aluminium frames and bulkheads, and even a sandwich deck in 1960, whatever that was, 67, 69. So the company always was sort of at you call these days the cutting edge of new developments, but we always try to think that.
And also, is it fair to say that sort of Laurent Giles is, if another design house or a naval architect even has a problem, they tend to come to you because of the wealth of knowledge that you have. Is that a fair thing to say, or?
Yes, we do have a.
I mean that's a compliment.
It is a compliment.
Very much so,
Sometimes we do get known as the sort of people who fix things, which is
we do get asked when something's happened, come along, give an opinion, or can.
So you're technical. You really are, from a technical point of view, is kind of where your driving force. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yes, we tend to do. I mean, for example, this range of boats we were doing with Hawk Yachts, we are doing the design. Yeah. However, the design is normally driven by the technical background. So that's where we like to see ourselves, as there's a technical background.
Yeah.
We have a lot of designers who we work with, and management companies, also with yards, where we'll give advice and we'll do our technical bit, like we're doing here today, to get that project to a stage where it's viable.
So it might not be a complete project that you're
Correct.
offering, albeit that there are projects that you have in your portfolio that is a complete Laurent Giles design and build. And
I mean, again, if you go
potential.
back to the historical thing, in the days of Jack Laurent Giles, the naval architect, as they were called then,
Yes.
was the yacht designer, and they did everything from the external appearance, the general arrangement, the construction, the hull, all that. With the super yachts, it's a bit different. You have designers who are completely non-technical, creative designers who come up
with the
concepts.
flourishing, they tend to wear
the imaginative
left, right,
shapes
isn't
and
it?
the clever layouts.
Yeah.
And they need a naval architect to turn these things into things that float and meet the regulations. And so, in a way, our job's morphed into we style ourselves as naval architects, and we do a lot of that stuff. but we've always had the design background, so we like to do our own designs alongside that.
Which is important.
And where are you based? Where's Laurent Giles based? Where's your head office?
We're just outside of Lymington. The company originally started in Lymington, and we haven't moved very far from there.
Okay.
And quietly, it is a bit of a hub for
Yes,
yacht
lot of
designers.
designers in that area, yes,
Yeah.
both naval architect yacht designers and
It's a bit like
design
Formula
designers.
One are up in sort of
Yeah.
Northampton area. The UK yacht design fraternity tend to congregate, certainly on the south coast as well.
And how many employees of the company now?
Well, we're about 7 or 8, I suppose.
Okay.
It varies slightly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It goes up and down. We are very, very conscious that we want to sort of stay a small business, a small,
Yes.
dare say, boutique business, where when people come to us, they get us, as it were. There's not another 20 people.
Generally, you're
you know.
talking to the person that's doing it, or at
Yeah.
least controlling it, if not actually doing it.
And where would you say your market niche, or the market sector for which you're best known?
Again, historically, you think of us as sailing boat designers and maybe big motor sailors. In the last 15, 20 years, it's shifted almost entirely to super yachts. And I would say we are slightly specialist naval. You've mentioned it, sort of troubleshooter. We're naval architects who get involved in projects that need a bit of care. And
No, we've got Atlas, which I know is only a project at this stage, which is still, I think, the largest potential sailing yacht that could be
very
launched.
large sailing
But
boat.
you do have a number of projects that like that you could be involved in. But and so you obviously have that as an option, but clearly your sort of the day-to-day business is working with other yards and designers and helping out from that point of view.
Absolutely, because we like the to do a bit of design every now and again.
Yeah.
But I still maintain that within the super yacht industry, you do need the cohesion of a designer and a technical guy,
Yes.
because these designers really push us.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're
They
very
really,
creative.
really
and
push us.
It's our job to try and
Well,
keep
okay,
up with it, if you
there
like.
must be a situation where you've got a designer saying, "Yes, we'll have this lovely flourish here, and
And
we'll
we're
have this
going,
in
"Oh,
all." But so there, and it's always I hate using the word compromise, but with any yacht, no matter how big it is, you've always got to try and fit everything into a small space.
Absolutely, and I think we see it as our job is not to say no, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Is to say
It's to find a way of achieving it.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's actually very important. Isn't
I
it?
think that's
Again,
really,
that's because I think we still see ourselves as designers as well. So we do bring that thing to the
Yeah.
table that
Yeah.
we're trying to make
Yeah.
this idea work, not just saying, "Oh, no, that's too complicated."
I mean, I'm surprised there's a number of very high-profile yacht designers who aren't necessarily naval architects, and of course you can't put a project together of this magnitude without having the naval architecture
No.
behind it. I mean, it's impossible.
You need naval architecture in the very beginning stages because with safety and subdivision and watertight bulkheads, you've got to start with that plausible. Otherwise, you can't make a workable GA.
Yeah.
And what was it? We were talking a little bit earlier about proven hull design, and you said that quite often clients come to you and they say we want a proven hull. What would you? How would you respond to
Well,
that?
our issue is what we do is custom design. So we design a boat to do a job. So the first thing you want from a client is if you can get it, is a clear statement of what he wants to do with it, because that influences a lot of choices in the design. And then as the design develops, there are different types of hull form that are suitable for different things. So we would develop that hull form. We use the tank testing here as a way
Well,
of
again, just to
verifying
interrupt for
that.
a second, I mean, it's always amazing that it is quite old-fashioned. I mean, I don't know how long the tank's been here for. It's a number of years.
Oh, late
I
60s.
think a lot of people would think that everything now happens on the computer, but actually putting a model in a tank with waves being made is still a very integral
Still
part
gives
of
you
it.
the information you want, and it's particularly at the scale and the size of tank we're using here, does it cost effectively and relatively quickly.
Mm.
It's nice to be able to do CFD, but most CFD people still like the opportunity of comparing their results to what you've got in towing tank.
and the towing tank gives you a very good holistic view of things that we can then modify, detail the CFD very, very accurately and quickly.
Yeah.
But we still want that overall interaction. So for example,
So you are
CFDs
mixing the two almost.
Yeah,
aren't you?
yeah.
You're sort of like
Absolutely.
it's the old-fashioned technology, if I can use that,
Yeah.
which does work, as opposed to the computer aided.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we'll develop, for example, bulbous bows with CFD, but then we'll use
And we'll stick it in the tank
we'll
and check
put
it.
and check it in the tank. And especially here, what we can do very quickly and very cost effectively is get some model testing done. A lot of model testing in the super yachting industry happens a little bit too late for actual development
to
work.
the design by the time it happens.
Yeah. So sometimes what you'll find is it's a bit like cutting steel. You know, there's always this pressure to cut steel because it's a point, a contractual point.
Yeah.
So it's tank testing, and quite often it's so time orientated that the tank testing's done, then you're building. So
Well,
you don't have that development.
it's going
stage.
back to the client having a very clear view of what he wants in terms of not just the look and what he wants to actually do with the boat, but the layout, the GA as you call it. And I think all that, if you can get that up front and get it sorted, then of course everything else, of course,
It's
moves.
the key to a successful project. You need the
Yeah.
client who's focused, has an
Yeah.
understanding of what he's trying to achieve,
Mm.
and then it's our job to try and achieve it.
Mm.
But you really do. The client makes or breaks the job, to be honest. As like a chine form, because essentially it's that shape in the major part of the boat until you get into the bows.
Yeah, and
So
these
it's
are like
easy to fit out.
these are like 70, I suppose 17 knot yacht,
Yeah.
17
And
speed.
they're trying to go quite fast, so they will build them quite light, but they will get a lot of accommodation in them because they've got the beam and they're probably quite tall,
Yes, they are.
but they're not necessarily good sea boats, and they certainly won't carry the fuel that you need to achieve a range and all the things that we were talking about for endurance.
Okay.
So then now you go for a switch. You want an expedition yacht or something, so you're probably going more displacement speed, you're going slower, you want endurance, so you need bigger tanks. You probably are going to build it out of steel because it's stronger, it's probably going to be round bilge. So you have an envelope in terms of fittings accommodation.
Well,
into
I mean,
it,
of course,
which
when
isn't
you're
quite so
steel,
generous.
you can then do almost any shape you like. You don't
So-
have to build a mould.
So it's not so much the material is not really the,
I wouldn't
the,
have said
the
so.
defining factor.
Obviously,
so
a
much.
steel boat's going to be a little bit heavier, but
Yes.
it won't make that much difference. If you wanted to build a steel boat, a chine boat in steel, you would have the same accommodation volume as you would
Yeah.
actually
I mean, we're talking gross tonnage again.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
you know, the gross tonnage for any given size
Yeah.
isn't really dependent on its material.
So the hard chine
Yeah.
boat will have quite a high GT in its hull because it's a fairly boxy shape.
Yeah.
Maybe less in its superstructure, whereas the round bilge displacement boat might be a little bit
I mean,
the
that
other way
costs,
round.
I mean, the trouble is we could have this discussion all day, but you've then got stability issues in terms
Of
of,
course.
building too high.
Yeah.
What do you know? That's why we have some boats as steel hull, aluminium superstructure. You can't do steel superstructure because you want to keep the weight lower.
Trying to keep
But
the
then,
weight
of course, we're talking about all sorts of different. There's perhaps a video for
Yeah.
another day on
But I have to say,
the
Mike,
naval architect
But
course.
in my experience, with the likes of going out, I mean, it's a case of you know what's good for the client. If the client wants to poodle around the Mediterranean in Beaufort scale 2 to 3, then the custom line 28 metres is going to be very adequate for him.
Mhm.
He's going to have a lot of room.
Yeah.
You know, it's a holiday boat, it's a party boat.
A lot of deck space.
A lot of deck space, but it's not it's not a long distance rough sea cruiser.
No.
And it won't be
Well,
comfortable
no,
in
I
bigger
mean,
seas.
we were looking at the wave. I mean, to scale, the wave height on one of the tests that you ran today was in a force,
2.5 metre.
which was I think force 7/8
yeah,
possibly.
5 to 6, 7. Yeah,
But that was an Atlantic swell
Yeah,
Yeah.
scenario.
yeah.
And of
Wave
course,
pattern, yeah.
so that's not what you're going to be buying a
No.
Vetta Ferretti type.
He's,
boat.
he's a Turkish client. He's had the Ferretti, the 42 metre whatever Ferretti, and he says, well, it's great when I've got a clean bottom at the beginning of the season, it'll do 25 knots, but a month into the season, I'm lucky if I get 20 knots, and if I go out in a chop, it's horrible.
Well, that's going to be one of the planing
Yeah,
policies.
exactly.
Custom line,
And he's
one
commissioned
module,
us to
something.
do one of these semi-displacement round bilge boats, 24 knots, and it'll do 22 knots guaranteed with a month's growth on it
Yeah.
at 80% MCR, and it's designed for its seakeeping characteristics. So there are.
And he's
people-
not going to run it at 22. He's going to probably
No,
run
he's
it
not.
sort of
But
at
we've,
high teens.
we've tested that in the tank here in 24 knots
Yeah.
in 1 metre seas,
Yeah.
and it's just goes straight through.
I have to
It's
tell
not
you,
a problem.
this 28 metre custom line. I went down to Ancona with some very hot clients to basically buy it, and we went out for a sea trial, and it's then when they decided they didn't want to buy it because it was dreadful at sea. It really was. It was the pitch and the roll in it was unbelievable, And I went up into the wheelhouse. We'd been out for like half an hour or so, or not that long, 10, 15 minutes. And I went up to the wheelhouse and I said to the captain, I said, she's moving around a lot, you might want to put the stabilisers on. And he said, they are.
Well, again, imagine chine form boat, the stabilisers inevitably are coming out like that. So they're more like rudders than they are stabilisers. So, you know, I mean, you want a lose-lose situation.
I mean, again, it's testament to Cantieri della Marche about they've been hugely successful with this line of steel displacement.
It's a different.
You almost think that it's sort of I mean, I shouldn't say proper yachtsman's boat, but there are boats that you would. But they may never go out in a force 9 gale.
No,
but the point is,
they use 12 mil hull plates below the waterline.
Bloody well, that is a bit overkill.
Everyone else is using 6. You know.
8.
Sorry?
8 would be all right.
Yeah.
12 is a bit overkill.
Yeah, but no, they use 12 mil plate. You know, and the boats aren't their goods, even their little 26 metre, which looks very stocky. You know, I've seen film of that at sea, and it's pretty good.
Mm.
So, I mean, that's what we're trying to achieve here with the yachts that we're doing here with Hawk is they are steel. They're not heavy, but they're meant to be. Endurance. They're not there to go. They can go round the Med, absolutely, but we're designing them so as they can, go.
But they have capability.
But then the upside is that they are spacious as well. I mean, for
That's
a given length, they are. I mean, I can't believe the GT on the smaller one.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, that's it's significant.
Yeah.
There's no
Well,
doubt
that is
about
because that's very distinctive of her design, because she's got almost a fully enclosed main deck, as it were.
Yeah, but also remember that she's got a
Plumb bow, of course.
So,
Yes, so when you say 48 metres, maybe it's more
not
like a 50 metre.
the water. The waterline length is significant.
I never know how to treat a plumb bow boat. Do you think of it as a boat that's longer, or do you think of it as a boat that's shorter?
Well, I think we tend to say longer on the waterline rather than shorter.
Yes.
I think
you say the waterline.
but that's probably a salesman's view.
For this waterline length,
view.
you'd expect it to be another 5 metres long.
No, but again, waterline length means you go in theory. Well, I mean, it goes bigger, and
it means
very
fuel
safer.
efficiency. Your resistance at a particular speed with extra waterline length is better.
Yeah,
of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a 50 metre.
If you're limited to a 50 metre and you do a plumb bow, you're going to get a longer
efficient.
waterline. It's going to be more efficient.
I think so, and I think we'd like to thank you very much
Yes,
for both showing us the tank testing day, which I found particularly interesting. I'm sure you did as well, JB. Take some good video of that as well, and thank you for spending the time to chat to us. It's been fantastic.
USP for Laurent Giles is we do our own tank testing.
Yeah.
We do the tank
Well, I think that's
quite a bit.
and I think I'm not sure that many people know that. I didn't realise there was quite as much goes on, and it's great to see that you're doing it properly, because you know, as you said, have you got a proven hull? Yes, we have.
Yeah.
We've proven it in all sorts of different conditions, which is more than probably a lot of production.
The other point.
Well, I mean, again, I had a conversation with someone with a steel boat, and they said, "Well, we're looking at actually chopping it in the middle and lengthening it." And I'm going, I mean,
I have to say,
anybody suggesting? Well,
I have to say, chopping it in the middle and straight is better than putting it on the end, which is what happens. Which is what normally
that's a
happens.
less expensive way of doing it.
If you go back to, I mean, like during the Second World War and stuff, the Americans were famous for doing that to their ships, weren't they? And
well, the Liberty ships, presumably, that was the simplest way of doing it.
And the USS Hornet, which is now a museum ship in San Francisco Bay, I went and looked around that. It's an aircraft carrier. It was built, I think, for the Korean War, and then was used in Vietnam. It was used to recover the space shuttle, the first, not the space shuttle.
The Saturn lander.
Oh, yes.
The command module.
Command module.
When they dipped to the sea.
Yeah. So, and that ship is something like, I'll just make the number up, it's something like 15 metres wider than it was when it was built. Because because now the runway on it is bigger and it's longer. They've really cut that thing about.
Yes. Yeah.
And actually,
but the bit in the water probably had. But I can understand they've made the runway platform wider because they maybe changed the way they built it, saved the weight, made it bigger. Yes, sure. Yeah. But what you don't want is your average little yacht. Trouble with the yacht, it hasn't got a parallel mid body.
Yes.
So if you're dropping it in the middle and then trying to make something that fares is a nightmare.
No.
So
No, it'll never look right.
no.
The shear will always be wrong, and yeah,
But again,
never look
what we
right.
talk about is there are hull forms for particular jobs. We designed a lot of sailboats over the years. In some ways, that's where we come from. Okay, we haven't done so many recently, but there are different sailboat hull forms for different jobs. We designed square riggers, we Project Atlas. They're different. Our motorboats are the same. Semi-displacement, whatever you want to do, long-range boats. The 88 Hawk is, because of its nature, carrying the number of people it's going to carry. To be honest, it's going to have a lines plan that's much closer to a mini cruise ship than a yacht. Because we need to do those changes to get the accommodation in and keep the drafts and the beams appropriate. So every time we come to design a boat, it's what is the requirement of this boat? What hull form is the most appropriate?
And quite often we have this discussion with clients who are going to, especially with super yachts, they're going to a yard because they've got a platform.
Yeah.
That platform might be completely unsuitable for what they
Yeah.
want to put
But
on
they're now
there.
constrained
but
to make
they-
it fit that platform.
rather than what the design was in the first place.
So they very often don't get the boat they wanted.